more than the 2008 Celtics milked that one ring they won.
Everybody got a show from that
I go with
from
I'll go
that
with
team.
that. I'll go with that. But they did. Then they get back to the championship and lose.
They did. They rematched Kobe and got beat.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
they did. They got their ass whooped. Yep. They got their ass whooped. And
They
then
rematched
like
Kobe and caught that belt to the backside. But I mean, I think it's just the producers are hiring the wrong people. There's players out there. You know who would have been a great player to be on TV talking? Steve Nash. He wouldn't
Yeah.
have been bad mouthing people. He wouldn't have been doing any of that. He would have
mhm.
been talking X's and O's. He would have been praising point guards like Halliburton and how they could be better. But instead, they go and get somebody like a Kendrick Perkins. I mean, no
Yep. I think
disrespect. He played in the league, but
mhm.
he's not a Steve Nash. He's not somebody who players look up to.
Oh, look, what Chuck say about Perkins? That 5 point career average, boy. You sure was a part of that team.
But with all in all due fairness, Kendrick Perk at one point in his career was the best player, in the high school or
Yeah,
on his
Yeah.
college team. And a lot of times these guys come to the NBA and they don't play the roles that they once played, not in the pros. You know what I'm saying? So to his credit, he knows the basketball game. You know what I'm saying?
right.
Now, does that mean he's a great commentator? Does that mean he brings value to the commentating position? I mean, that's up for debate. Now you got a lot of the players that's upset, like Ja Morant, Halliburton, and others about how they are being presented on sports TV, sports radio, etc.
And I
Now,
think that's why ESPN they're gonna have to like let Shaq, Chuck, Kenny, and Eddie, do their thing. Like they gotta transition the TNT and let them run their stuff in order to get stuff back to normal. Because you gotta think these are all Hall of Fame players, except for Kenny. But broadcasting and Emmys and stuff, they won stuff. And like you said, Mark, Scott Van Pelt does tell it like how we grew up ESPN because he's the last of a few. He the last of them. The
Yeah,
Stu
he's
Scotts and Rich Eisen. Rich Eisen is coming back to ESPN. So
let me
like
ask you
we
this. Let
gonna,
me
we gonna
ask you
find
this.
out.
Let me ask you this, and we're gonna touch on this a little bit later. Well, Steph Curry has been credited to uh, having the kids want to transition from traditional basketball player to all of them being 3-point shooters, and we could say that a lot of that come from the European League, whatever. Do you think Stephen A. Smith is the Curry of the broadcasting, as far as they really, really, really put a lot of criticism on the players? LeBron James was griping about it, but he really trashes the players. Do you
I'll
think
say
he's the reason for this?
I'll say I don't think he's the reason. I think attacking players or quote unquote trashing players has been something we've seen. I mean, all the way back to the '80s. They were very hard on players. Even former players were, right? Like, hey, you're not somebody till you win a championship or till you've done this, da da da. And that's not even just the NBA. So I wouldn't say it's him. And I don't think there was a problem with Stephen A. Smith 15 years ago. I think he was just somebody on TV. I think the issues started to come when you've seen people, and I think the rise of this was undisputed with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp. That show became big. It never was as big as First Take, but it became big because Shannon Sharp and Skip Bayless went for these viral moments instead of actual, sports breakdown. They're coming
Come
in
on,
and they
Phil.
want to be an obvious fan of a team. They're wearing masks and props and they're betting on the games. I think that's when it began to change. And other networks were like, well, hold on, we need gimmicks. We need people who are going to come in and try to make funny little sayings like Lakers in 5 and da da da. And I think that has started to make it so that players felt like rather than these people who spent, decades either playing the sport or covering the sport, these people who have those skills to do that are now looking for viral clips and moments and trying to use names that will catch people's attention rather than covering the sport with what I think LeBron would say is honor. And I think that's kind of part of the problem. So if I were to pin it on, a show, I wouldn't pin it on Stephen A. I would pin it on Undisputed, which would be more so Skip Bayless.
All right, well let me show y'all something real quick, man. Because people, Gilbert Arenas, he addressed it, uh, and people just think that that is going too far with the super criticism of the players.
Man, Gil's one of the problems.
So check this out.
Trash talking is trash talking. If you give it, you also supposed to take it. No, only thing I was saying is he talks a little bit too much. When you up, you talk too much. You in people's faces. You trying to get up under their skin. But when you're not playing well and when you're not, producing the way you're supposed to produce, you can't see I can't see you. If you're gonna talk smack, you talk smack when you lose and you talk smack when you win it. Am I right, fellas?
Absolutely.
No doubt.
So it can't be one way or the other. And then you got to learn how to take it too. You got to learn how to take the stuff talking too. So that's all I was saying. If it's one guy that I want to go play against, I want to go play against him in my prime to show him and to shut him up. Just shut up and play, man, because you're not really like that. Okay, you're not really that tough guy. You just a guy that's gonna come out here and play and supposed to play. You're doing what you're supposed to do. Now, credit where credit is due. He's out there balling. And then when they are whole, he goes out there and he produces the way he's supposed to produce. All right. But on defense, Lou, if I'm playing, I'm not hiding on defense. They had him on defense. Lou, you're not sticking the best point guard. You're not sticking the best person that's playing against you. All right. They want to stick you, but you can't stick them. That's another thing. So live up to all the hype. And if you're going to talk smack, you got to go out there and do what you're supposed to do against the best. Play against the best. Defend the best. Trey?
I agree wholeheartedly.
Man, that makes
Tim,
no sense, Sean. Go ahead.
Hold on. Let me say what I got. Let me say what I got to say. All right. Tim Hardaway from the streets of Chicago. So he grew up on the playground, talk that smack, give it and receive it. And I think this goes back to if the man knows basketball, he has seen the game, he analyzed the game, he knows the X's and O's. So if he's saying that he's seeing them hiding it, he saw it. And you can't dispute that. Halliburton, we can say right now in the playoffs, he had averaged 14 points less 8 times in the playoffs. You can't be considered the great and then you hide and all that stuff, just like Tim Hardaway said. He plays and then, we see it. But we had to go back and hold people accountable for when it comes to talk track. You gonna talk it. Me, if I was on the court and I'm an NBA player and I see him talking junk, every time I see him, I'm gonna be talking junk and I'm gonna be able to receive it. Because me and your uncle, when we used to play basketball in the streets, we busting guys up. Have we lost some? Yeah, we lost some. We was still talking trash, but we was killing guys out there most of the time. And these guys, they getting kind of soft, and that's what Tim Hardaway is getting back. He's saying that you can't be out there talking junk and you up, but then you can't take it. And a lot of guys they can't take trash talking and criticism nowadays. And he being from the era that we saw him in with the UTEP's two-step, and he was out there talking trash just like that. And that's the thing, we see it. The NBA 53% viewership has went down because these guys are soft.
So
all right, Coach Payton. Hold on. Hold up,
oh,
Agent.
oh,
I know you got something to say, but let me say this right here. And then you go ahead on with your point. Coach Payton, I think that's a bunch of bull. I really do, man. I really do. I really think that's fueled by some other alternative motive. I do. I mean, listen, man. The young man is playing lights out basketball. Okay, he had a bad night. He had a bad night.
Where?
He had a bad night.
Man,
Man,
go
this guy didn't hit
14
so many.
points
Listen,
a
this guy has
game
hit
in the
so many,
playoffs,
but
less.
he has came through when his team needed him to come through. Ain't that what we supposed to be doing? Sometimes the victory is ugly.
yep.
Yeah, the victory is ugly.
But
But
when you
don't put
need
him,
that
but
shot,
y'all trying to put him on a pedestal and he ain't
no.
there.
Well, listen, when you make that many game winners, people are going to talk.
Robert
I think he's
Ory
getting an unfair
doing
shake.
what he doing. Robert
Man,
Ory
don't
won
compare
7
him to
rings doing
Robert
what he
Ory.
doing.
That's not
Oh,
even don't. That's not
go
even
ahead and make your
comparative.
point. Go
I'll
ahead and
make
make
my
your
point
point.
this way. Sean said, in order to be talking your trash, right, you got to be winning, and you got to be guarding the other best player. So Reggie Miller wasn't a star because he was talking trash when he hit the shot on the Knicks. He's the one who invented the choke thing, right? But Reggie wasn't guarding the best player on the other team. Reggie never won a championship. Reggie didn't even make
Reggie
it to the
played
finals in the
defense.
90s.
Reggie played defense.
No, he didn't. How
Oh,
many
he
defensive teams, all NBA defensive teams did Reggie ever make? Whoever said Reggie was a stopper? Nobody. But you're moving the pieces to try to say something about Tyrese Halliburton, who was having one of the best playoff runs that we've seen from a player who,
oh
before
my
it
God.
started, nobody was talking about him as one of the better point guards in the league. He's
You
hit
better go
more
look at
clutch
his
shots,
stats.
huh?
I don't care about the clutch side. Don't
The
you can
clutch
say he
shots
clutch.
and his playoff
He
averages.
been
He's
making he had made his team has put him in the position to make the clutch shots, but he hasn't been playing great. You can't
how
be
was he not?
averaging 14 points or less in the
He's
playoff game, like out
he's
almost
not
10 games.
he's not averaging
14
14 points
points.
less.
Man,
He's
that's
not.
Kendrick Perkins can do that.
But you're stating a false fact. He's not averaging less than
Well,
14 points in the
no,
playoffs.
he has scored 14 points or less in 8 or 10 games. I gotta go back and look, but you can look this up. You can look it up.
So so did so what's the
That's
number
like
that should
bench
normally be
score.
at?
That's like you coming off the bench.
So did
That's bench
Isaiah Thomas?
points.
How often did he score 14 or less in the playoffs? Does that make him less of a star?
But he
Like
averaged
how
way
many
more than
players?
that. He
You
averaged
don't know that.
Joe Dumars. He was the
You don't
Joe
know that.
Dumars was the man on that team, and everybody can tell you that.
So man,
Well,
no, this goalpost moving here like crazy, man.
I
You're
think that
telling
No,
me
Halliburton.
no,
I
the
think
man.
Halliburton is the star of his team.
he's
That's
undoubtedly the
his
star
team,
of his
yeah, but
team.
not the NBA. But the thing
But
is, the
who's team?
man ain't look. The man is not. Stop trying to move the goalposts for him to be great. The man ain't great.
Why is he
Period.
not great? Why is he not
He's
great?
not.
So
He's not.
are
You
there
don't
five
show
other
up. You so Jordan.
are
Look,
there
if Jordan scored 4 points in the playoffs, we be like, "What the hell done happened?" And he had done single digit
hold on.
playoff
LeBron James
point
has scored
scoring
8 points in the
several
playoffs.
times. Look
And
it up.
nobody is
Look it
saying
up. Look up
but
his.
LeBron
All right,
James has scored
right
eight
now,
points in the final.
go on, right now.
Listen,
Look at Halliburton
LeBron scored
playoff
8. So what?
points. His each game. Look up each game,
LeBron
and
scored
you can
8. So
see
what?
the mediocre. You can see the mediocre scoring, and you supposed to be the
So,
best.
so
Come
what?
on, man.
He's a point guard.
No, y'all making him like he's
Who's
a star. Like
who's had the worst
he's doing all the when I
who's
hear
had
when I hear star, when I hear star, you take it over the game from the beginning to the end.
Hey,
That's
coach, let me
star.
say this. Hey, coach, let me
what?
jump in. Let me jump in,
What
coach.
player has ever done that for every game? No player.
Listen, traditionally, the point guard, I mean, Iverson was a point shooting guard. But the point guard, his
Wasn't.
job is to run the plays and distribute the ball, right?
Yep.
So I don't see where, if as long as he's getting the assist, he's running the plays, I don't see where he needs to be scoring, 25 or better a night. And
He doesn't.
with that being said, being a league superstar, I don't think he is the league superstar by no stretch of the
But they
imagination.
trying to make it. They trying to force that
But
narrative.
well, but I don't believe that. But I do think he's one of the stars. I mean, because the guy's clutch.
Super clutch. Like, how is he not? Like, how do you get your team to the finals? You're back-to-back Eastern Conference Finals, and you're not a star.
We seen
Name
that
me a
plenty of times.
name
We
who?
seen that
Name me a
plenty of times.
non-star player who's ever done that. One
Charles
non-star
Barkley.
player,
Charles
Charles
Barkley.
Barkley.
Yeah.
now Charles Barkley's not a star. Well,
No,
what are
you
you
said
talking
no.
about here?
My bad. I no, not said. I
Charles
thought you
Barkley's
said
a Hall of Famer,
who
one of the best
has.
power
I thought
forwards
I thought you
ever.
said who has
Who has not?
gotten,
Name me
but
a player who was just some dude who wasn't the guy in the league, one of the superstars of the league, who's been to back-to-back Eastern Conference or Western Conference finals, and you would say, oh, they weren't really nobody because, they get dragged there by their team. Name me one player in NBA history. Jason Kidd went to the playoffs, and in the playoffs, he had many games where he scored 14 or less. Was he less of a superstar? No, he was a point guard. He ran the offense. Look at this last game Indiana played when Tyrese Halliburton was hurt and did not look like his normal self. They were getting smoked. They were getting smoked. And what was
they
the
about to
point?
get
The
smoked
point with everyone who watched the game was, man, Tyrese Halliburton didn't show up. If he's not a star, how come he needs to show up in order for his team to even be competitive?
because everybody that's thinking the way you just said wants that to happen, and it's
But why?
not there.
But if he's not
They are
playing well,
look. The
they're not
NBA right
competitive.
now is like you said when we talked. The NBA has fumbled the ball. They fumbled the
I think
ball, and
the
right
coverage.
now, the coverage, and development. It's bad, man. It's real bad, and they better
What
hurry up and
development?
fix it.
What development?
Like right now, who is the all right? Right now, let's say LeBron is he about to go out. Name one player that is like that can really take over like right now.
Luka
I don't
Dončić.
think the NBA has that right
It's too
now.
much parity. You got lackluster
Well, hold
wannabes.
on. I completely disagree with that. There's two players who were doing that. If Jason Tatum hadn't got hurt, many people believe they would have won the finals again this year. So Jason Tatum and the Celtics is one. And Luka Dončić just went to the finals last year. And the only reason he wasn't this year is because one, he got hurt, so his team wasn't doing as well. And then two, his team completely dive bombed and traded him in the very end of the season. Another one is Nikola Jokić, who's dominating and constantly being a force. Took the Oklahoma City Thunder to 7 games basically by himself. So you've got three players on three teams that I just mentioned who have perennially been at the top of the sport. Luka lost to Jason Tatum last year, and Nikola Jokić got knocked out by the team that went to the finals every single year. So this idea that, oh, well, there's no more, superstars who are ready to be the best, not true. There are some very good players. And Shai Gilgeous is now putting himself in the conversation that if they win the championship with all the picks that they have in that team, why can't he be a perennial force into the finals? So those are four teams and four players right there who all but two have won MVPs or been named a finalist for it, or have been to the finals or won one. So I don't know how you would say, oh, well, there's no dominant stars. Jokic won like three of the
Three,
past
three,
four
three
MVPs.
MVPs. He got three MVPs, but he's
I think
in his
listen.
30s.
I think I know what's going on here. Like I agree with you on that point made, and Coach, I agree with you also. I think where we getting it messed up at is the NBA, in my opinion, does not have that star like LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Allen Iverson, that
Killer
magnitude
instance.
where the kids, like if I ask my wife who is Jokic, she don't know. But she knows who Steph Curry is. She knows who LeBron James is, and so forth, right? So in that right, I don't really believe that the NBA has that star yet. Now, I think they were getting to it with Ja Morant, because what it really boils down to is who is gonna sell out the sneakers? Everybody's gonna buy the jersey? Who's gonna be put in the movie? Who's gonna do all of the commercials? Who is gonna be that? Who is that star? And then when he gets on the basketball court, he scores
It
unbelievable
translates.
games and he does all of that. I don't think the NBA has that right now. Like you said, SGA could be that, but does he have the star power in him? Like Michael Jordan, he had something with him. Kobe Bryant, he had that swagger. He had that thing, that extra it.
The
I
killer
see a lot of
instinct.
great players. I see a lot of good players, good players that basketball enthusiasts like to watch. I don't see that star that some little kid is on the basketball court saying, Jokic, I don't really see that. I don't see them doing that for nobody right now. So to me, I don't think there's nobody right now who the torch when Steph Curry leaves and LeBron James leaves. I don't see nobody that's grabbing that torch and standing on that mountaintop, beating their chest. They having the number one selling out sneaker, the number one selling out jersey. The kids in China chasing them down the street. Everybody want them on their talk show. I don't see that. I
Too
don't see
much
that the NBA
friendship.
has that right
It's,
now.
it's too much friendship in the NBA. Nobody has a killer instinct.
So one, I don't think that's
I
true at
can't say
all.
the killer instinct. I think SGA got the killer instinct. I think
Two,
Luka got it. I think Luka definitely got the killer instinct.
but
I
two,
just don't think they have the star power.
we're talking about star power. The things you mentioned, they weren't like no one has had that star power since Jordan. Not
No,
Kobe, not Shaq.
LeBron now.
No, he
LeBron.
hasn't. No, he
What?
didn't. He's never sold even close to as many sneakers as Jordan sells in
No,
retirement.
at one time, you had to
No,
get in line to get those sneakers just like the Jordans. At one time, you did.
no. If you were to look it up, his sneakers never sold anywhere near what Jordan's sneakers sold,
I agree. No, I agree with
or
that.
Allen Iverson's back in the day.
Right, I agree with that. But what I'm saying is, I mean, LeBron James was the last phenom, though. I mean, LeBron James is probably one of the most famous men. He's just as famous as Mike Tyson. You know what I'm saying? So he is the
So are you
last of that.
talking about players who are going to go out and be famous on social media? Or are you
No, I
talking about
mean
players who build their fame by being the face of a sport in terms of performance on the court?
that's what I mean. I mean players that they have the personality. They have everything in the game.
Because many people will tell you Steph Curry is the most influential basketball player of the past 10, 15 years that every kid wanted to be
Uh,
like. Not LeBron.
I can agree with that.
They
I
may
can agree
buy
with that.
LeBron's
I go
shoes,
with
but
that.
nobody is trying to be LeBron. They're trying to be Steph Curry. Every team was copying Steph Curry in terms of Splash Brothers 3-point shooters. We need somebody who's going to space the court. We changed our expectation of the point guard position. So when you say who's the face of the league, I mean, Steph Curry was as much the face of the league as what you're saying LeBron was. Dwayne
Well,
Wade
And he
was the
got.
face
I
of the
agree.
league at a certain
No,
point.
I agree with that. And
I
he
agree with you
has
wholeheartedly. I agree with
same
you
amount of
wholeheartedly.
championships and less
But
attempts.
back to the original conversation, as far as Halliburton being that, he's not that.
Well, no. There's only like if you're no. I don't think anyone is trying to say Halliburton is one of the top 3 players in the league, but there's more than 3 superstars in the NBA at one time. So
Agreed.
just like back when Kobe and LeBron were in the league, Dwayne Wade was a superstar, Shaq was a superstar. There were other superstars. Dirk Nowitzki was a superstar. There was more than 3. Now, was Dirk the face of the league? No. But Dirk was somebody who, when you went to play against a team that had Dirk, you had the game plan. You had to understand that Dirk was going to bring it to you. And the same thing is true for Halliburton. If you're playing against the Pacers and you're in a 1-point game at the end, you would be a fool if you acted like your entire huddle was not talking about what you were going to do to stop Halliburton.
Oh,
That is a
facts.
superstar on the court, period. Now, off the court, whether people like him, etc., I don't really care about that because people like what they like. But winning solves all issues. And when you win, you are a superstar. Jason Kidd won by orchestrating the game and being a
All
consummate
right,
point guard.
now you're going too far now.
Why?
Like Mel told Tony when he turned the
Jason
joint on
Kidd,
him. He's like, all right, now don't go too
Jason Kidd
far.
wasn't a superstar.
I won't. I can't go with that one.
Outside
A
of
great,
basketball,
a great player. Yes, superstar. I'm not going.
So
I
he
ain't
went to
going.
back-to-back
I'm
Eastern
not going to
Conference
endorse
Finals
that.
and to the finals, and he wasn't a
I'm not.
superstar.
I ain't going to endorse that.
Vince Carter
That's
was a superstar on that team.
that's crazy. Y'all
I'm
y'all
not
show
taking nothing
y'all
away
true
from.
colors now.
I'm not taking nothing
Y'all
away
show
from
y'all
his
true colors.
accolades. I'm not
No,
taking
no,
nothing away
no.
from his
Okay.
accolades. But I'm
Jason
a
Kidd wasn't a
superstar. I
superstar.
don't think the world cared if Jason Kidd got traded.
Yeah.
Superstar has to do with your play on the court.
Right, but
You're talking about being popular to the kids. According to you, Zion Williamson's a superstar because people care about where he's doing. They buy his stuff. They watch his highlights. But he's not a superstar on the court.
no.
On the court, Jason
No.
Kidd is a superstar. He would if he was on the opposing
I
team.
just can't put the super there. I could put star.
What about
Yeah.
his performance on the
Like
court? Was
levels
a
of
superstar.
Madden. Like levels of Madden, yeah.
I
So
just
Yeah.
feel
what
like
about
Jason. I
X
just feel like
Factor,
Jason Kidd. I just feel like Jason Kidd could have
superstar,
been
star.
replaced with any decent point guard.
all right?
Drew
I
Holiday.
don't think he.
Drew
All
Holiday could have
right.
did what he did.
I don't think
Drew
he was
Drew
better.
Holiday is
Holiday.
Drew
I don't
Holiday a
think.
star?
All right. Yeah.
I don't
Hey,
think he was
y'all
better
putting
than.
this on camera. Y'all are
Hold
putting this
on.
on film here.
Yeah.
Y'all are the ones
Because
who got to answer. Okay.
Drew Holiday to me is better than Halliburton. And he's 35.
I don't think he was
Drew
better than my
And he
Holiday.
got
man.
rings. And
What's
he
my
got
man
rings.
name? What's my man name that was balling with Detroit when they was winning?
You talking about Chauncey Billups?
I don't think he better than Chauncey.
Wow.
Or Rick Hamilton.
I don't think he was better than Tim.
Richard Hamilton is not a point guard. But all right,
I
look, hey,
know.
y'all
I
put this
know.
on camera. Y'all can
Look,
say you
Drew
guys are saying
Holiday.
Jason
Drew
Kidd was
Holiday is better than Halliburton. Am I wrong?
yeah, you're wrong.
Oh God.
I
How
don't
many
know.
rings Drew Holiday got? And was
Didn't
instrumental.
Halliburton
And,
didn't Tyrese
and,
Halliburton
and
just beat
instrumental.
Drew
Hold
Holiday?
on.
Not, and
But
didn't
look,
scrape by. I'm talking about crushed Drew Holiday just in
look,
these playoffs.
but look, the man 35, but he's still better than him.
Oh, okay. Okay. He's better than him, but he's
But look,
35, so he didn't do better
but
than him,
look,
so he lost to
the
him. But he's
man
better than
got
him.
the man
Okay.
got Olympic medals and he got 2 back-to-back championships on 2 different teams. And he was instrumental in all those. And
I
he
don't think he a
contributed.
superstar.
He ain't not a superstar. But
I
he
mean,
better
you
than
guys are the
Halliburton.
ones putting this on camera. You're saying that Drew
Yep.
Holiday is better than Tyrese Halliburton because he's got a ring.
Yes.
Okay.
No. No, I'm talking about overall play. They bought this. He just to me, they probably even.
Who averages more points per game and assists per game
Probably
in their
Drew
career
Holiday.
and in the
No,
playoffs?
I'm just playing. No, I'm just playing. It's Halliburton. But
Okay.
Halliburton, like
Okay. All right.
Drew
Who's
Holiday
played with better
is better than
teammates?
me.
Who's played with
Huh?
better teammates? Who's the best teammate Halliburton has ever played with?
What?
Was that
Nobody.
teammate a two-time MVP?
Nope.
No.
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, but Drew's better. All right. No, I'm just wondering what y'all are looking at when
No,
you guys
listen,
are making these judgments.
I'm looking at
listen.
play. I ain't even looking at
I
hoop.
think the NBA. I think the NBA just as well as the NFL is full of stars. But when you say superstar, that means something different.
What does it mean?
Do I think Halliburton is a star? Of course. Do I think Jason Kidd was a star? Yeah, but a superstar like
What
John
does
Wall was a
superstar mean?
superstar.
Who?
John Wall.
John Wall was a superstar?
Yes, sir. He just ain't win nothing. Look where he was at. But what I'm saying is,
John Wall was a superstar,
John
bro.
Wall was a monster.
Yeah, he was.
A monster.
He was a superstar.
Gilbert Arenas was a monster.
Gilbert Arenas was a superstar.
He was a star. He
But
won't like
hold
John
on, you
Wall.
got John Wall over Gilbert Arenas in terms of stardom?
I do.
So what is a superstar? Like, what does that mean to you? How would you define it?
Listen, man, when like they got the gameplay. John Wall, a hell of a gameplay. But also people would watch him regardless. Like nobody was running to the TV to watch Jason Kidd. Nobody would say, "Oh, Jason Kidd balling tonight." Nobody. If I had some tickets to the game and Jason Kidd was hurt, I'm cool with that. If I got some tickets to the game and John Wall not playing, I'm gonna be like, "Yo, dang man, John Wall ain't playing, man."
Dish it, dunk it. He gonna dish it, dunk it, make a good play, splash play. He gonna give it to somebody, and he gonna really dunk on
He
somebody.
gonna be Showtime.
Yep.
He gonna be Showtime. That's what I mean by that. But I think all of them stars in their own right because you playing. It's the best against the best. So the people that elevate higher, they the superstars. Because all of them stars.
Wait. But what you talked about has nothing to do with elevating because John Wall was not better than Jason Kidd a single day in his entire life.
I don't know. I disagree with that.
Okay. I mean,
I do.
I didn't expect these to be like gotchas, but they appear to have been like gotchas, bro. Like, wow. All right, y'all staking y'all claim on John Wall was better than Jason Kidd. I think LeBron might call into this show and be like, "Hey, I'm gonna need y'all both to mute your mics."
Hey man, I think John Wall was better than Jason Kidd.
So, but Jason Kidd is going to the Hall of Fame.
Injuries.
John Wall is not.
He could have. I mean, situations.
He could have. Oh,
yeah,
without
we ain't gonna go with the woulda coulda stuff. We don't go with the woulda coulda stuff.
He was never on that trajectory. What was his best season? What was John Wall's best season?
Hold on, you saying he won't never on that trajectory?
He was never on a Hall of Fame.
So you trying to tell me that Jason Kidd? You trying to tell me that Jason Kidd could go to the worst team in the league and make them playoff contenders?
Is that what a superstar means to you?
I mean, you talking about Jason Kidd like he Allen Iverson or something. Jason Kidd, you think is Jason Kidd better than Steve Nash?
They're equivalent.
Oh. Who has the MVPs, Mark? Steve Nash or Jason Kidd? Who been the league MVP 2 times?
And let me get this disclaimer out. Jason Kidd, I love you, man. Love you.
Go ahead. Hey, because this is where you get basketball. This is where you get basketball heads, and you start to see who really is watching and who's been there. Who was the better defender by far, Jason Kidd or Steve Nash?
Jason Kidd.
Okay, yeah, who was the better passer?
Steve Nash.
Steve Nash.
Okay, who has more career assists and a higher career assist per game?
It'll be Jason Kidd.
Okay, but Steve Nash was the better passer. Okay, all right.
Well, who has two MVPs?
Who was the better leader? So all right. Let's talk about the MVPs. Do you think what do most NBA players feel about Steve Nash's MVPs? Do they feel they're legitimate?
Some of them don't.
Yeah, no, that I don't know.
Most NBA players
the one year he should have got it, LeBron should have got it.
So most players consider his MVPs illegitimate, but that's what you guys are hanging your hats on, right? So the players themselves consider those illegitimate. This is why we probably shouldn't let sports writers be voting for the MVP, but neither here nor there.
Agree.
So then we talk about that. So then you say, what other things would make Steve Nash better? He was a better shooter, sure, but there's more to being an NBA point guard than shooting. How long was Steve Nash's prime? How many years was he actually a good starting point guard?
I say if I'm looking at from the time he came in and then he went when he went to Phoenix, that's when his prime really kind of started. And I'd say he had a good 7 years with that. And then after that, injuries and everything else to go.
Mm-hmm. And how many years did Jason Kidd play at a super high level?
So me and him
Like
the same. I'm a
like
year
fif
older than
like
him.
15. He went to the finals against Kobe and Shaq, and then he went again
Oh,
to the finals against the Heatles with Dirk Nowitzki. And guess what?
and
Steve Nash
right.
played with Dirk Nowitzki too. Did he ever go to the finals with Dirk? He did not. What did Jason Kidd do when he played with Dirk? He won a ring. So I mean, this
We
idea
ain't
that
do
Steve
much. He
Nash
just throw the
is
game the ball.
he didn't do much. He averaged almost nearly a triple double as
I
the
know
starting
he
point
did.
guard.
Hold on,
But now all of
Yeah.
a sudden that's not doing much. I mean, come on, man.
hold on. That might be
Y'all,
outrageous right there.
what's outrageous?
That triple double you talking about, he averaged.
He probably had
I
like
said
9, 8, and 6.
he almost averaged. It was
He
like
probably
it was
had
like
9, 8, and 6.
it was like 887, 888. But all I'm saying is, if you're trying to say
He
that
was
he
a
was much better,
contributor.
he was not.
He was a
Jason Kidd is a Hall
contributor.
of Famer.
We know
Hall of
that.
Famer.
He a Hall of Famer based on stats.
He's not a Hall of
Play.
Famer based on stats, man. Jason Kidd was a dog, man.
All right,
I know. I
this
seen
what they
him.
done.
Me and him
Hold
the
on, hold
same
on.
name.
And I don't know how we got to comparing these guys, but we here now. All right, here we go. Kidd averaged his career. He averaged 13.2 points, 8.7 assists, 6.3 rebounds. That's good. Nash averaged 16 points, 8.4 assists, 2.9 rebounds. I mean, numbers
Jason
don't
Kidd
lie.
would have more triple doubles than him anyway. I already know
Way
that
more.
part.
He was a triple
But
double
Way
anyway,
more.
machine when he took his
He
team
in the
to the
top
finals.
5. Yeah, he in the top 5.
And what is it? Richard Jefferson will tell you Jason Kidd didn't score a lot of points early on because he was all about getting the offense going. That's why his team's offense looked good, man. Richard Jefferson played with him. Now, he said later in his career, they had to be like, yo, Jay, you got to go get your points, man. You got to get some points on the board too. And then Jason Kidd started scoring more. So you have to kind of like take that scoring number with a grain of salt. Jay Kidd could have averaged way more points if he wanted to, but he was the
uh-oh.
point guard.
Hey, now, I got
He
called
was
out
he
for
won
that.
the best shooter. He won the best shooter.
He
That's
didn't
why
have to shoot
he
to
got drafted.
score.
He got when he came out of California. He was drafted because he was an all around player. You got your points when he felt like it, but more assists and rebounds. He would go. He wasn't scared to go in there and get it.
Why did Steve Nash go to Dallas in the first place? Because Steve Nash was drafted by Phoenix. Why did he go to Dallas? I'll tell you
He
why.
played well.
Because he wasn't getting playing time. Because who was the starting point guard for Phoenix when Steve Nash was there? Jason Kidd.
Hold on a second. Jason Kidd.
It was
He got
Jason
traded.
Kidd.
Yep.
And so they
Yep.
traded Steve Nash because Jason Kidd was their starter. But you guys are telling me that Steve Nash was better than him. Okay. It's just I don't see the facts lining up with what y'all are saying by
But
taking this look
the
at
numbers say he was better.
Oh, for real?
I
He
mean
just
that.
was a better rebounder.
But
That's
hold
it.
on, but listen, this conversation is spun out of control because I ain't trying to bash Jason Kidd by no stretch of the
No.
imagination because the man was a beast. He
He was a
textbook.
star.
He was textbook point guard though. You want that if you got a good shooting guard or you got somebody like Dirk, you want Steve Nash on the team. I mean, you want Jason Kidd. You know what I'm saying? Because he did his thing. He did his thing. So, but to end this one off, I just don't see no stars, super stars. That's monumental stars, icons in the league yet. And these dudes are young, so you gotta give them some time. But they ain't nobody hit the ground boom like LeBron James hit the ground like a comet.
I think you're focusing on their superstardom in the American market versus the global market. Luka Dončić is a global superstar. He's known all over the world. He's huge.
But
When he
to
moved to
make
the
it,
Lakers, he had the number one sold jersey, and it wasn't primarily being
You
sold in
think
America.
Luka Dončić? You think Luka is more of a star than Caitlin?
And Caitlin Clark,
Yeah.
worldwide, absolutely. Americans know who Caitlin Clark is, but if you go around the world, man, they don't know who she is. They're not watching her
I'm just
game.
saying, man. I can go
but
down
you
to the
gotta think, it's
playground
just
right
like
now.
boxing. It's just like boxing. In order to make it in boxing, if you're overseas boxing, where you got to come to?
It's not, because you do realize that the majority of the consumers of the NBA are global now. It's not American. The
I
American
can go with
market
that.
has been shrinking every single year. So you're still operating on the fact that America is the largest market for the NBA. It's not. It's shrinking. The global market is bigger. Most of the players coming in the league are overseas now. Shea is not an American. Luka, not an American.
He
Jokic,
Canadian,
not
right?
an American, right? Like there's
Mhm.
fewer and fewer of the big players. Giannis is foreign who are American, and that's because Americans are less interested in the NBA than they've ever been.
Because it
So
ain't
yeah,
no because it ain't no American stars.
I don't know if it's that. I
If
think
one
it's
of them, if
similar.
one of the, if
The
Ja
AAU.
Morant, if Ja Morant wanted to
No.
be, he could be it. If he wanted to be it,
So
he
the
could be.
past finals,
And
when Steph
and
Curry and LeBron were going, they still weren't. People were not interested. Americans are losing interest in the NBA. Why, I don't know, but I think
I
it's
know.
going.
well,
NBA
hold
is
on. That's a
changing.
perfect. That's a perfect
We know.
segue. That's a
Yep.
perfect segue into what we're ready to jump in right now, and that's the 3-point shooting. Now, Larry Bird has commented on possibility of the NBA moving the 3-point line back, suggesting it might be necessary if shooting percentages continue to rise, particularly if players, including centers, are consistently hitting 40 to 50% of their 3-point attempts. What y'all think about that?
One,
Go
what
ahead, Mark.
center is hitting 40 to 50% of his 3-point shot?
I have no idea.
Okay, only one
The
close.
Miles
Bird had
Turner.
a little. He had some of that. He had some of that. What Michael Jackson called it. That
All right,
juice.
I just had to get that out of the way. Who, I don't know who's hitting 40 or 50%. That doesn't change it, but go ahead, Sean. What you think?
Well, yeah, think about this. The NBA, since I did some analysis on this in 2009, the percentages and shot production from the 3-point line has increased. So the NBA standard NBA at the top of the arc is 23.75 feet, right? The corner three, which is the shortest three to shoot, is 22 feet. Steph Curry, Trey, and Dame Little, they average between 26 and 27 feet on their 3-point shots. The NBA league average is 23.8. So a quarter of an inch back more, they are hitting more, right? So me personally, if I had to change the 3-point line, I take it out to 25 feet and get rid of the sideline three. So I have a big line in between. I have a 25-foot line straight down. If you want to shoot that three, you got to go there
Wow, so you're changing
and
the way
push
the
it
court
back.
look. You're changing the whole
No, you
look of the
still
court.
gonna have no. You'll get rid of the corner three, which is the shortest three. Because to me, that's not a 3-point shot. You know what the 3-point line been in what came around in 1982. But that's the thing, like the mid range game has diminished. Cause I seen a guy I never, and I know you saw this in one game. Guy came down, dribbled down the court. He got to like 18 feet. He dribbled back out and shot the three. I'm getting tired of seeing that.
But you say the mid game is diminished when we've seen players like Kawhi Leonard, DeMar
And
DeRozan,
DeRozan Rosen,
Shea
yeah, I
Gilgeous
know.
Alexander.
Yeah.
They're
That's only a
dominating with the.
few.
But the mid
That's only
range
a
game
few.
is not an easy game to master, right? Normally, it has been only the few really good players who've mastered that mid game, right?
Jordan.
Jordan was one of them. But like, how many players during his time were dominating the
Oh,
mid range? Not
and
many.
well,
It's
that's the thing.
hard.
Like that's why the shooting. That's why it's taken away from the viewership. They getting tired of seeing Bobo shooting threes, and he's 7 foot 30, and
So
like
is that why you're not watching? Like, if you are you watching less games now than you were 15 years ago,
yes,
Absolutely.
and it's because of 3 points.
no, I Me, I'm gonna tell you from my perspective, and I'm a big basketball historian and fan. When I saw they change the defense, allow more zone, and I'm seeing too many pick and roll plays where the actual picker is moving while you getting picked, and they not calling it, and like it just the game average points per game. They say we need more scoring, but but you still got to play defense, and nobody's not playing defense. They'll consider somebody a defensive team. They letting somebody average 106, 107 a game. That's not defense. Like that's not a defensive
So
team.
this
They
what you
just got away from it.
suggesting. You suggesting this right here.
Yes, yes. Move it right there. Get rid of the 3 point sideline three. If you want to shoot that three, yeah, go to that 25-footer.
But
And
that
we'll
wouldn't
get
fix
better. We'll get
one.
better.
That
We'll get
line would
better
have to be
inside
curved,
play. And look, you will get better inside play.
and
You'll
that
have to traditionally earn your 3 point play with an and one.
so one the line would have to be curved for it to be 25 feet all around. So it would hit the sideline just lower. But two, some of the things you were just mentioning, Sean, of why you weren't watching the game had nothing to do with the 3 point line. They're like, that's not going to
But
stop there from being as much pick and roll.
well, I'm talking about as it progressed in years, we just seeing too many guys that shouldn't be threes. They need to take. All right, for instance, when we watched the Knicks against Indiana, when the Knicks was up by 16 in game one, instead of them slowing the game down and get inside and run plays, Cat was shooting threes, four bad 3 point shots, and you 7 foot. All you had to do was go in the post and get your and one. But that's coaching, and that just the mentality they got these guys thinking that the 3 point shot is the new foul line shot or 2 point shot.
Darren, why aren't you watching as many games as 15 years ago? Which again was the kind of before, that was like very, very early LeBron you were watching.
It was more
Um,
competition. I think it was
I
more competition.
the same reason I ain't watch European basketball.
Yeah.
To me, it's like it's real passive when it comes to the defense and earning a bucket in the paint. Nobody wants to be in the paint. When a guy runs down the lane and go airborne, he's not contested. A guy's getting out the way. The only thing I see defensively that these new players are doing, yeah, they'll put a hand in your face, but there's no contact basically. Everything is a flagrant foul. Everything has to be so friendly, and the competition isn't as fierce. So yeah, some nights I watch the game and I enjoy the shooting, but sometimes I want to see the combativeness of it. I want to see the guys get rough and tough. I want to see the rivalries. I want to see the teams clearing the bench. I want to see basketball. I don't want to see, a league where I feel like all the parents are making sure the kids don't get hurt.
And you don't feel like these playoffs were that?
No, I don't. I feel like the coach's role has been diminished to, hey, I got to please the players. I can't be rough on the players. And if they do, they're out of there. And
It's a
it just
player league.
it's entertaining to me when I want to see it, but it's not nothing I'm subscribing to. Like, oh, tonight I got to get my beer ready. Hey, baby, get the food done. Everybody, the guys coming over. It hasn't been that. I don't
They could mess
when when
around. They could have
when
W.
Cleveland was playing Boston in the conference finals. Man, we was at Buffalo Wild Wings. Man, we was at man. Everybody, we had to see that. It was must see TV. KG, Paul Pierce, Ray against LeBron. Man, you had to see it. You could not miss it.
LeBron ain't had nobody
Now,
else.
now I'm just like Shaq. Yeah, Shaq said he was obligated under contract to watch two of the games, and after that, he ain't got to see it no more. And he said he just don't want it. He don't want to watch. And
Yeah,
I
but
feel the same way. I just listen to the radio and go watch the highlights now. I don't have to see this matchup.
none of that sounded like 3-point line.
Well, the 3-point
It
shooting
goes
got a
back
lot to
to
do
it.
with it because everybody shoots the three. Like, listen, I'll tell you this. I love Halliburton's floater. I think it's a signature shot. I love SGA under the rim game, and I love his mid-range jumper. I can get into watching that. But when I'm not gonna watch a 6'11" man keep shooting a 3-pointer. It just does something to my spirit. I can't even believe that it's just like how I felt when the fullback position in the NFL just vanished. You know what I'm saying? I feel like the big man has become the big little guy.
Well, the fullback still exists. I'm a
I
huge
know,
proponent
Nah,
of
but
the
it used to be
fullback.
a huge position.
our team still got one.
It used to
Yeah,
be a huge
some of the
position.
teams, some coaches still carry them fullbacks, and they benefit from it. But I
You
get what
know,
you're
at one
saying.
time you had to have a good fullback. And it's
Had to.
like you had to have it. And like the big man, man, I would love to see Cat get dirty. I would love to see Cat down there bowling guys and they can't get the rebound. I would love to see it. He two-hand dunking and hang on the rim. But I've seen plays where when they inbound the ball, they are inbounded to a Cat and he bring it down the court. Like, yo, you're not Magic Johnson, homie. Like, come on, let's play the game. Let's play the game right, man. That's why I like the shot selection that Halliburton be taking. I like his game. I ain't gonna lie. I have nothing. I love his game because when he take a three, it's a three he supposed to take.
Yeah, I agree. He doesn't
He's
overshoot the
supposed to
ball.
take it. But your big man shouldn't, like, the big man shoot the three, miss it, clank off the back of the iron, the ball fly
He's running
far,
back
the other
out to
team
the.
get it, boom, 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 boom. And then the next thing you know, they get into a running gun where instead of them capitalizing off the fast break, they stop and shoot a three. And you don't even need it.
But a lot of
And
teams.
what Sean was saying, I was waiting for the point guard to come down, slow the game down in that game, game 4, I believe.
Oh, game 1.
With the Knicks. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
No, but I'm talking about game 4 in this series now in the finals. When the Pacers had control of the game. What was happening, I'm sitting there watching, I'm like, well, this guy getting paid millions of dollars and he don't understand what's going on. SGA was going and getting high percentage 3-point plays that was stopping the clock. But the Pacers, for some reason, with the league, kept on feeling like they had to run and gun and shoot threes where they could have just slowed the game down, ran plays to knock the clock down, let Halliburton do his thing. And the other guy, I like the guy, what's his name? His name Williams? The guy with the dreads.
You talking about Leafman?
Yeah.
He got a nice 3-point shot, but he don't go crazy with it, but he be shooting it.
Is it Marketing?
He's nice. And it's like, slow the game down. You got the lead. But when you keep letting SGA go under the basket, go to the rim, these guys don't know how to defend under the rim, so they foul him. He's gonna hit the extra point. That's a 3-point play to stop the clock. Well, and he's continuously doing it. And the next thing you know, the lead was gone, they was down, and they lost.
Well, part of what you're talking about, Indiana doesn't run a center. They don't have a true center out there who protects the rim. That's what you used to have. Back in the day, every team had a center. There was no easy rim runs, right? You were going to have to stop that short or floater or something. Whereas Oklahoma City, they put a center out there. They put Hartenstein on the court. So Pacers can't really go straight to the rim like that. Holmgren's a really tall, long guy. So and then the Pacers not slowing the game down. That's coach, right? The coach said the game plan is push it. We want to tire them out. So the coach had that game plan. You notice a lot of these teams, they don't have half-court sets. They don't rotate the ball and get it into the post. The Pacers are using Siakam in the post, but he doesn't really have a post game. He's just trying to take a little jumper over a shorter guy. A lot of that is due to the way that the analytics have changed, how they coach and build these teams. they don't have those in their back pocket, right? They don't play basketball that way. But I think I don't know if people would watch the game again if they went back to that. Now you're saying that you would. You miss the days of. You remember back in the day, players you didn't switch because if you did, you would end up with a mismatch on a big man like Shaq, and basically they would clear everybody out, get him the ball and let him get it, or Kobe would get mismatched onto a point guard. Hey, get out the way, get out the way. But now you don't see teams playing as cerebrally punishing, I call it, where when they get this mismatch, then you're going to punish that. They immediately run to the post. And you know who was really great at that? The Celtics back in the day, the Detroit Pistons with Chauncey Billups would do it to you. It was something that you kind of saw more in basketball. Now, you don't necessarily see that. You see SGA do it a little bit too in these finals, right? When he gets a certain person matched on him, you see him kind of say, hey, get out of the way, get out of the way. And he's going to take it to the rim or try to get to his spot. That's good basketball. And I would agree. You don't see that as much anymore. And I think it more so comes from teams are used to getting a superstar. And I mean, look, part of this has to do with LeBron. The way LeBron plays the game, he didn't want a big man in the paint, so his teams didn't really run with big men. They ran with this hybrid Chris Bosh who would go to the three-point line, and you would end up with a 6'11 guy shooting threes. You would end up with a center who just gets out of the way, like a Joel Anthony. He was never really, he went and stood in the corner most of the time, or he was setting the screen. And so it was surround me with three-point shooters and give me space to make runs at the rim. Well, players, many teams started to like imitate that. Luka Dončić is a prime example. He would have the big man come set the picks for him, but they had no other big man with a post game. The Mavs had no post game big man. It was just clear out. The bigs go stand at the three-point line and you catch it and shoot. So I think part of that is tied to the stars and the way they've built their teams and built their game plans with the stars play this different wide open game. That doesn't mean that a LeBron, a Luka, a Jace Tatum could not play this style of the older school basketball where it's like, no, we got to have a big out there for defense. If we get mismatches and they switch, we're going to go find the matchup. That's the mismatch. We want you to be able to make a move and get a shot off in a tight kind of mid-range spot. Yeah, I agree. That would be better basketball. That would be, something that like is better in line with the basketball we used to see. I don't think that's tied to three-point shooting, though. I think that's tied to owners and the coaches that they're hiring are coaches who don't really know that kind of basketball as well. They didn't come up designing it. They didn't come up playing it. Like Steve Nash when he was the coach of the Nets. Nash never ran no offense like that. Nash ran this three-point shooting, everybody go to the corner, freewheel and pull it out, no defense type game. So when he's your head coach, he's going to put that on the court.
Hey, that was nice. I like that. I like what that was nice what you did.
That's what we're seeing everywhere.
You circled it around, and you.
I brought it back.
Yeah,
I brought it back, right? And look, that's what he did.
But I'm gonna tell you something else that created. It got rid of the rivalry, and that's what really funked it up. Because, hey, when we know the Bulls going to play the Knicks, we know that's John Stocks and Jordan. They join all week.
Yeah,
they join all week.
Yeah, rivalries are definitely gone.
Because now we ain't gonna get to see, these rivalries when they come in town. Like Jordan used to say, Byron Scott said Jordan came into town. He said, "Hey Scott, what's going on? I heard you ain't playing." And Byron Scott said, "Yeah, I'm hurt, man." He said, "Who guarded me tonight?" And he told him who was guarding him. He said 50.
50. Half the pillow.
Because my guy not guarding me tonight. The guy that played me hard, said pause. You know what I mean? But the guy that I play against, a lot, that know my game. He know what he know my tendencies. I ain't playing him tonight. So I'm gonna crush this dude they putting in here. You don't get that.
Yes.
Because anybody is on everybody. And it looked like playground ball where nobody really knows how to play basketball. They just know how to run and shoot. A bunch of athletic guys that can shoot. Give me a bunch of track stars. Give me a bunch of track stars and put jerseys on them and let them run up and down the court and Hope they make some baskets.
NBA
Hey,
players,
Sauce,
I'm
look,
not. I do not agree. NBA players.
I went to a basketball game in wintertime. Adrian's grandson played basketball, right? They had, I swear to God, they had like Jalen Jackson and Ja Morant, and these two guys like as little leagues. The big guy kept going out and shooting the three. Man, I was on the bench. I was right down the goal. I said, "Man, get in the hole!" Like I kept telling him to get in the hole. Well, nobody taller than him. All he had to do was throw it in and throw it off the glass. He want to shoot the three, and I'm like, and I'm looking at the coach. I'm like, he ain't telling him to go in the hole. And then I guess he listened a little bit. The guy started throwing it in the hole, and he was like killing him in the hole. But I'm like, that's what it is. Everybody was crowded around. All the young kids were crowded around the 3-point line. No woman, nobody in the hole. And I told her it was a bigger guy. I said, "Go to the hole, go to the hole." All they had to do was throw it in there and throw it on the glass.
They're not coached to do that, you know. And I
No,
think like with the toolbox that Halliburton got, if the game was played like it was played in the '90s, man, this dude got a high off the glass layup that's
he'd
crazy.
be like Mark Jackson.
Finger roll is retarded. That finger roll is
Mark
so pretty,
Jackson.
man. He lay that thing in there, man, on a bed of cotton, and
Mark
you don't
Jackson
really
had
get to see
the
that much.
teardrop.
So, and then they're not contesting the shots in the paint. We're not seeing nobody set the hard pick. You ain't
Well, you're
seeing
seeing a
guys
lot
run
of
through guys.
moving screen.
Yeah, you're seeing a lot of
Oh, a
that.
lot of that. A
That's
lot
You
of
all
see,
movie
expect
screens. They'll
nowadays.
and you're seeing
never
a lot of
call.
Moving
traveling,
screen.
and you're seeing a
You
lot of
see a lot of
traveling,
Yes.
traveling. You
and it
see a
just
lot of
There's
don't
never
beneficial
travel.
it
whistles.
it don't look right. So
On offense, they act like running backs. They just pick the ball up and run into somebody and get a call. That's not basketball. I mean, I
right.
could do that. Like, how are kids supposed to ref their own games when that's a foul? So basically, when you get the ball, I'm just supposed to like let you do a move, run to the rim, and I just jump up there with you or something. Like, I think the officiating and the rule sets do make the game a little bit tough to watch. They should let it be a more physical game. But I think what people are not liking is the rivalry. And I'll end with this. WNBA is seeing a huge spike in popularity. And I don't think it has to do anything with like, oh, Caitlin Clark is this like kind of WNBA player we've never seen before. She's good, don't get me wrong. But you know what Caitlin Clark came in with? Chip on her shoulder and a rivalry. She
Mm-hmm.
lost that national championship. She was the number one pick, and they knew she wanted get back. She wants to win. And she had a built-in rival in Angel Reese who was feeding into it. Yeah, I'm better. That's why I got the ring. And then the rest of the league started rivalry. And that rivalry, man, that I can eat that drum. I'll watch that. I'm watching
Mm-hmm.
it because that is what basketball is about. You know, Caitlin ain't coming in there to be friends. She coming in there to win. And them other girls are playing to win. They're not playing to make a paycheck. They're not playing to have fans like them to sign jerseys. They playing to win. They're going to throw elbows. They're going to clear the benches. They're going to set hard screens. They're going to do hard fouls. And when she hits that three and she looks at that opponent like, you feel that. You like, hey, she ain't playing. She about this. NBA is missing that. Too many of the players want to play together. They're like, it's only
Yeah.
money. Like LeBron
Like I
says,
said
y'all
earlier.
care. I'm going to go back and be rich. That hurts your game. That hurt. If you don't care, why should I?
Load management,
Oh man.
all
Oh
of that
God.
foolishness. And I'm gonna end it with this, fellas. To me is the what's going on in the world a little bit. Is the gender role reverse. The guys are prima donnas, and the girls are they out there with the lunch pail. They doing
Yeah.
they getting the grit. Even in
You ever
boxing,
see the
listen.
walk-ins?
Even in boxing, the girls want to fight each other. It just ain't enough of them.
Yeah.
The guys, they like, I ain't gonna fight him. I ain't
You
gonna
see
fight
the
him.
walk-ins for the WNBA? They, they be having on stuff that we have on, D.
No question.
Hell yeah, they
And
have the
and
chain on.
and one more thing before we go, fellas. One more thing before we go. These dudes need to start wearing low top sneakers and stuff, man. Get back to the high tops and get back to basketball. I'm tired of seeing these low top sneakers. It's supposed to be basketball sneakers.
That's Kobe.
Man,
Kobe started that.
Kobe?
Kobe started
Yeah,
that.
Kobe.
We need to you should have just let him have it. But anyway, man,
Yes.
good conversation.
All
right,
right.
y'all.
All right.
Your Uncle Don't Know Nothing podcast with your host Sauce, the analyst Doc Prime, Big Play Joe with the Holovingian, and Coach Peyton